Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live session with SNS Co-Ed Live. We're so excited that you all are tuning in. I know you're coming in. So while you're coming in, here's what I need you to do. I need you to share. It's so important that you share this live. Why? Because it's going to be super beneficial to you and to every person who is viewing, So make sure you share and also tag a father, tag a uncle, tag a spiritual father, tag a mentor, tag away. We want as many people on this live as possible. Why? Because we want to interact with you. We want to answer your questions. We want to see your comments because this dialogue is going to be super incredible on tonight. I can really sense that. I have some incredible men that have joined us on tonight. And if you don't know who they are, let me tell you something. By the end of the evening, you won't forget them. And so make sure that you're also following them and staying up to date with what they have going on. So again, tag, share. And as you're doing that, as you're coming in, as you're inviting your friends and family to join us, some of you may not know what SNS Co-Ed Live is all about. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a video to kind of give you a quick synopsis of what we represent. Go ahead and roll that footage. Greetings, I'm Sharon Ann, the founder of SNS Co-Ed, and I'm here to share a little bit about what we represent. Single and Satisfied Co-Ed is a faith-based organization that's been designed to help educate, inspire, and empower us as men and women to become the best version of ourselves before entering into marriage. Now, this is not about us being satisfied without, but more so about learning how to be satisfied within. We believe that we can help increase the percentage of healthy relationships, friendships, and marriages by focusing on laying the proper foundation. And that foundation starts with educating our singles, providing them with the proper resources, tools, and information necessary to help them thrive, not just survive as single individuals. We host numerous events that are focused on, but not limited to, mental health, wellness, developing inter and intrapersonal skills, financial stability, and more. And sometimes we get together just to network and have a great time. Our discussions, which are held online and in person, focus on tackling topics and answering questions that are relevant and vital to sustaining lifelong healthy relationships. They teach us how to be accountable, responsible, content, and confident with who God created us to be. It is our desire to help you gain insight into your purpose and help set you on the right path. Now, whether marriage is the ultimate goal or you're content with being single, we're here to help you on your journey. So cheers to being single and satisfied. Yes. Cheers to being single and satisfied. I hope you guys were well informed just by that quick synopsis. Listen. Now to the point why we are here tonight. Father's Day is this Sunday, right? It is this Sunday. So listen, I want to, I guess I should say, shout out to our fathers. An early happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day. It's all about you. And we are elated to dedicate this live to fatherhood, honoring our fathers, not only those who are alive and present with us now, but even those who have transitioned to being our guardian angels. So at this moment, if you may have lost a father, if your father may have transitioned, or you know someone who has transitioned, I would love for you to go ahead and post their names in the comments section, put a dove there, a heart there, so that we can recognize them. I see you guys tagging names. Just in case your father is no longer here, we want to recognize them. Again, post that name and put a dove or put a heart there so that we can recognize who they are. Fathers are such a blessing. They really are. And they play such a vital role. And there is a reason why God set it up that way. And I'm pretty sure that you all will definitely be able to share some insight and dig into that. Again, happy Father's Day to all of you, early Father's Day, and to those who may have lost your father. We extend condolences. We just thank God that you had them for the time that you did. We see Dennis Franklin. Yes, we see Charles Hayes. Yes, we see Pink Pfeiffer. Millard Tippins. Yes, yes. This is awesome. This is awesome. May God bless you and your family. All right. So I have some amazing men, both that are husband and single, that have joined us on tonight, that I think are a great representation of fatherhood. And I want to introduce them and give them an opportunity to share a little bit about who they are. And then we're going to jump right into this. We're going to try to not hold you long, but I do believe that tonight is going to be off the chain. So first, without further ado, Apostle Kevin Duhart, a husband, father, pastor of All Nations San Antonio, and I do believe Houston as well. I believe it's 2 locations, right? Apostle Duhart, welcome. Can you share a little bit about you and your ministry?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Sharon, for inviting me to be a part. Bishop, it's good to see you as always. And I'm grateful to be a part to all of those who are leading with us, ASAP Ward and the incomparable ASAP Ward, and to my brother John. God bless you guys. Looking forward to getting it in with you guys. Listen, I'm from San Antonio, born and raised. I'm a native. I've been married for 20 years now, as of yesterday.
Woo!
So we had 20 years of marriage yesterday to the same one. Um, and we have 2 wonderful sons. My oldest son is 16. Well, biological. My oldest son is 16. My youngest is 14. I do have a 31-year-old son who we took in at the age of 11 for the most part. And he's been with us since as well. But anyway, I've been pastoring 20 years now, been in ministry 23, and love Jesus. I'm privileged to do the work in San Antonio and Houston. So that's enough about me, really. Looking forward to getting into this conversation tonight.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Next, we have father, mentor. Many know him as the world-renowned producer, but I bet you didn't know that he's also a certified life coach. Everybody welcome Asaph Ward. Asaph, can you share a little bit about yourself? Shoot, what we can't find on Google. Oh, unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. There you go.
Yeah, I've been challenged today. Forgive me. Thank you for that introduction. I don't know what to say. Let me first give honor to Bishop. Good to see you. And Apostle Durhart and John. It's always good to see you guys. Looking forward to come down to San Antonio at some point. Check you out. As Sharon says, without all the luxurious, wonderful accolades she gave me, I am a record producer at my core. I've been producing music for some time. If you have gospel music in your car, I probably did one of them or something, So I love music, and I am a mentor, and as she said, a certified life coach. I always had a gift to help people and to have wisdom in different areas. And I just I have a lot of therapist friends, and they kept saying, you need to get your certificate. You need to go there. You don't have to be a therapist. Just go get your certification, be a life coach. So I was able to go do that, learn a lot about the mental health side, which I needed it. And, God blessed me mentally going through that certification. I have 3 children, wonderful children. I have a daughter named Randy. I have a son, Asaph Jr., and I have another youngest son, Josiah.
Yes.
And they're grown now. And I've changed diapers. I prayed. I did some whooping. I did a little bit of everything. So I'm definitely a father that was there. So I'm blessed today, and just glad to be on this panel with you guys and looking forward to talking, about the the subject.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Asa. Next, we have John Montplaisir, one of SNS Co-Ed's own hosts. He is a father, he is an author, and a speaker. Welcome, John. And can you share a little bit about you?
Appreciate it. First of all, let me greet Bishop, Apostle, Asaph. It's an honor to be on here with you guys. I'm an inspirational speaker. I'm a preacher of the gospel. I'm known to many as a relationship coach online. But most importantly, I'm a father of two gorgeous girls that refer to me as daddy. Fathering my oldest is going to be 14 in November.
Wow.
And so she's hitting those teen years and thinks she knows, she has the world figured out. My youngest is going to be 11 in August. And
Wow.
it's been an absolute blessing to be a girl's dad. And so I'm looking forward for this conversation. I'm anticipating the dialogue here. And so I think it's going to be informational, inspirational. I think I'm going to be able to learn a lot as well as share some things. So we're looking forward to this.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, John, for sharing. And last but certainly not least, my dad, Bishop Greg Thornton, who is a father, a husband, pastor of CTC. I am. Shout out to Committed to Christ International Ministries. He has his master's in Christian counseling and doctorate in divinity. Everyone, welcome my dad, Bishop Gregory Thornton. Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Bless you. It's good to
it's on.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much to my daughter for inviting me. I've been married for 25 years, been pastoring 25 wonderful years to Apostle Joyce Thornton, the love of my life.
Let's go.
We have 5 children, 5 wonderful children. And I don't know, I don't want to hold up too much time, but yeah, Brittany, Greg, Sharon, Tanya, and Joshua. And we have 13 grandchildren.
Woo! My goodness.
Yeah,
13.
Huge family and love every one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I see you guys tagging, keep sharing. We're going to dive into this. Again, like I said, I believe that those who are tuning in are definitely going to be empowered, enlightened, inspired, healed. There's going to be clarity. I'm just speaking all of those things. So as I'm speaking that, just go ahead and receive that. This is going to be simply incredible. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're talking about fatherhood. There is the man, the mission, and the mandate. I'm going to say this. I'm a very candid black and white person, and I'm not biased. I peg myself as a very honest person. And it seems to me, is in my opinion, that I don't believe that fathers get the credit that they actually deserve in society today. It's painted, again, this is me, from just my perspective, that mothers are the heroines, right? Always the heroines, and fathers are the villains. They're not present. They're always absent. And that's not true. That's not true. But because of the narrative that is being pushed, that's more pessimistic than optimistic, you can't help but have that type of viewpoint. It's unfortunate. So I want to have a real honest dialogue tonight, because we don't want to ignore truths about absentee fathers. But what we want to do is kind of dig into these statistics and address them so that we can find solutions. Absolutely. And also honor those fathers who are present. And I want you guys to feel free to open up and share your stories. I'm not sure if your fathers are or have been present in your upbringing, but I definitely believe that we have a balance where you guys can share some insight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a few statistics that I found from parentpluskids.com, which addresses the impact of a father who's present and one that is absent. Now, here's this disclaimer, and I can't say it enough. These statistics, they date all the way back to the late 80s. So they may not be as current as we want them to be. But I want to be very, very, very clear that this is not an endeavor to castigate our men, neither crucify them. When I'm talking about our men, I'm talking about African American men, but I am not excluding men in general. All right. I want this live to bring awareness and highlight how important the role is of a father. And I've invited these men because I believe they represent fatherhood very well and will help empower, inspire, encourage men to be the godly men that they were purposed to be. And if there are issues, our goal is to find the solutions to them. I will say this, as I said before, I don't think there's enough that's being highlighted to show the positive aspects, enough resources. I think we can do better as a society and as family, as men and women in general, to have resources available to help push and encourage our men. We can do a better job at supporting. And I do believe that everyone has to be accountable. Everyone has to be accountable. So without further ado, fatherhood statistics. Okay, so here we go. And I'm not going to read all of it, but there's an estimated 72.2 million fathers in the United States, 24.6 million fathers in a married two-person household with kids that are younger than 18 years of age. There are 2 million single fathers in the United States, and 17% of single-parent households are single fathers. The breakdown of single fathers would be 44% divorced, 33% never married, 19% that are separated, and 4.2% that are widowed. It is said that 72.2% of Americans think an absent father in the household is the most important problem that is facing American families, American, African American families. And that was a poll done in 1999 by the National Center of Fathering. This was interesting. In 1960, only 9.1% of children were living with a single parent. And by 2012, the number had risen to 20.7% of all children. Children in the fatherless homes have a higher rate of criminal activity. That's what they're saying. So they're saying that is 43% of the children without a father in the United States. And 90% of runaway and homeless children are from fatherless homes. This is what they're saying. 39% of inmates housed in jails are from homes with an absent father. And that was a study done by the Department of Justice in 2002. They're saying that children without a father are more likely to show disciplinary issues. That was the U.S. Census in 2017. Let's hop to education. It is stated when it comes to education that the lack there of a father figure or father affects kids in several ways. 71% of all high school dropouts are from a fatherless household. That was the National Center of Education statistics. It says that if a child has a father in the home, they are 40% less likely to repeat a grade in school. Yeah. Wow. They state that girls are more likely to have children as a teenager if they grow up without a father. Wow. It states that boys get better grades in school when a father figure is active in their life. That was the United States Department of Health and Human Services. So that was a little bit. And now we're going to talk about the changing of fatherhood stereotypes. Because one of the things that caused, I do believe, fathers to be not as present. And when I'm talking about present, I'm saying even in the same household, but not as present because of the weight they had to carry, providing for the family, working long hours and being tired, being exhausted. And that's not the only thing. But I will say that times are changing, and the views of fathers and fatherhood is changing, and the way that dads see themselves, they're changing, because it used to be bring home the bacon, just provide, 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 provide. 90% of dads out there really enjoy being a dad and consider it the most exciting thing in their life. 90%, right? Wow. And that's worth acknowledging. 90%. And I'm sure that the fathers here that are on this live can agree to that. 90% of dads out there really enjoy being a dad. 85% of fathers consider being a dad the best job in the world. Wow. 73% didn't even think their life began until their first kid was born. Wow. 62% of dads are hungry for more info on how they can better father their children. So we see that they're not only changing stereotypes, but they're changing the family tree in a positive way. 52% said they are more affectionate with their kids than their dads were with them. Isn't that something? Even when it comes to saying the word love you, I love you, 54% of dads are saying it more than their parents said it to them. 47% of fathers said that they are more involved in their kids' playtime than their dads were with them. And when it comes to empowering fathers, this was a question that was asked to fathers. Do you think enough is being done to empower fathers? When asked that, 40% of dads don't believe they're being empowered in their own homes. So I know I put a lot out there, a lot of information to soak in, but I believe that we got quite a bit to kind of to touch on. And we may not touch on everything, but what I wanted to highlight is the importance of a father and their role. Okay, so we have fathers, we have father figures, we have mentors, we have spiritual fathers. So we look at this thing, fatherhood, the man, the mission, the mandate. The man, what is a man? An adult male human being. He has the Y chromosome and X chromosome. They produce sperm. That is the man. Okay. There's the mission. What is the mission? It is the assignment. It is the charge. It is the duty that you have, that God is giving you. What is the mandate? It is the authority that you've been given to act a certain way. So we have the man, we have the mission, we have the mandate. So without further ado, I'm going to remove myself and we're going to jump into this. I'm going to start with Asaph. Asaph. And I don't want to call y'all fellas because I don't want to diminish. I want to honor you because I want to say, fellas, it's totally okay for you to keep your mics unmuted because I want you guys to actually jump in. If you have something that you want to say, by all means, please do so. But Asaph, I want to start with you. Based on what I just described about the mission, the mandate, and being the man, why is the role of the father so important? And why does it make such a huge impact if he's present or absent? And please share both perspectives, spiritually and naturally. And I do believe that it starts spiritually, but go ahead. I'm going to allow you to speak.
Well, it's not something that I was made aware of coming up. I just knew I have 5 siblings and I'm sibling number 4, and I have a younger sister who's sibling number 5. And me and my younger sibling, we had a father in the house the whole time. But my other 3 siblings did not. There was challenges and different things. There were times he was traveling and other things that was going on. And I saw the effects of, and we discussed them even today as grown brothers and sisters, how it affected them differently than it affected me and my younger sister. It was always good to know that my father was in the house. He didn't have to say much. It was just, and even though our mother whooped us more, the fact that he would whoop us meant something even more. And he wouldn't even whoop us like she did. But it was something about that male figure. And I believe that it was just naturally designed for a father to have a strong role. I believe it's Proverbs 20:7 tells us that in so many words. If I can, I'm not going to paraphrase. I'm going to try to be close as possible. It says that the righteous man walks in integrity, and because he walks in integrity, his children will be blessed from that.
Yes.
So what happens is you have a father who needs to be in place so his children can be blessed. He has
Yes.
to actually be good so his children can be blessed. So my angle about the role now has, I mix the spiritual with the natural.
Yes.
It's something that God says that we must do, no different than, the other scripture, train up a child, all of that. We're supposed to train children, and we're
Yes.
supposed to be there. And if we be integral in life, that's how our children, if we walk in integrity, our children can be blessed. So for me, it's important because once we're out of place, that naturally puts our children in dysfunctional environments. It puts them in dysfunctional mental wars that they don't know what to do and don't know what to deal with. And here we are punishing children because we're mad at the ex or because of their mother, and we're thinking that we have a right to be in our humanity. But the truth is, we're not hurting her, we're hurting our children. So I believe, if I can shorten this answer and do a takeaway, I believe that our role has to be in place because our children are affected in heaven. We were just talking today earlier about how, as it is in heaven, it's this way on earth. So in heaven, if you're supposed to be doing right on earth, you need to be doing right. And if you're not doing right on earth, then heaven responds. And next thing you know, you have children that are dysfunctional. You have children that are hurt. We have children that are not getting good grades. We have children that are about to do their children that way. And then you have the curse. So we should walk in integrity. It says a righteous man. And everyone's not righteous, but we can take that principle. If we walk in integrity, God says our children will be blessed.
Yes. Are you okay? I thought I lost audio.
No. That's
okay.
That's my takeaway.
Okay.
As my takeaway, that was my takeaway. So they can chime in, because the truth is, there's so many angles about this. But I know I mentor children that are not even mine. And because of that, you'll be shocked that children have a lot of questions. They have a lot of different peer pressures. The stuff they're going through in school wasn't the same things that we was going through in school. The things I was going through in school, my parents didn't go through that. It's like life is evolving, and it's important that children have father figures, because it is the place that God put us in to do. Mothers can only be mothers, and fathers can only be fathers. And unfortunately, women have to do both sometimes. And then there's some men that have to take on the role and do both. But the truth is, we have a calling to be integral so our children can be blessed.
Yeah, I cannot, and then Dad, I'm coming to you just on that topic. I want you to hop in. You said a few things, but I want to speak to the latter, because you mentioned about sometimes each person, or whether it's a father, sometimes he has to do both, and sometimes the women have to do both. And I want to insert myself here because I don't want people to take that literal, and I don't believe you were saying it literally, but there are some people that take it to heart. I think I said it Mother's Day, and when we were live, both online and in person for service, that women, Father's Day is not about us. Father's Day.
Can you say that again?
Yes. We have Mother's Day. And if you are
please.
a single mother, right? You are not both mother and father. You can only be what God has purposed you to be. That is the mother. I believe that you plant seeds of confusion. Confusion, and you add anxiety and stress to yourself when you step out of your lane, and when you take on something that was never meant for you to take on. It's so important for us to understand that if you are a single mother, there are other avenues. Asaph mentioned something. He said that he is a mentor to children that aren't his. And although my son, I'm gonna speak to that because my son, his father is present, but Asaph is also his mentor. Because I felt like it's so important. I mean, the more the merrier. He has grandpas, he has uncles, he has his father, he has a mentor, and he's able to pull from each one whenever he needs to pull from them, he's able to get what he needs from each one of them. So kind of look into, because there are big brother programs out there that will be a mentor or something like a father figure to your children. And same thing, fellas, Father's Day is for you. I mean, of course, y'all know y'all can't be the mama. But you do. Neither do you want to be, right? No, I totally get that. But I wanted to insert myself there just so that we can remember that. Because I've seen a lot of posts fly up on Facebook on Father's Day where every year. And and it's not to discredit you. It's not that you don't work hard. It's not that you're not doing your thing. But I want you to understand that you could, and I say this with love, you can never be a father. Yes. Just like the father can never be a mother. That's right. I say that with love, but I do pray, and I know that God will, that he will send the examples, godly examples and mentors and father figures that you need to help be that example for your children. Now, to dad, why is the role so important as it pertains to just you being in position as a father?
I think it's important for fathers to be in their role. I was thinking about a scripture, Proverbs 29:18, which says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And sometimes we think that just applies to church ministry, where there is no vision. But vision actually starts at home.
Yeah, we want to be able to hear
you. Vision actually starts at home. Yeah. Vision starts in the heart of men. Yeah. Vision starts with God placing it in the heart of men. And as fathers, we're one of our responsibilities is to carry the vision of the house.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Is to have the vision of the home. And if we don't have that vision within our home, then there would be, the children would perish, the family would perish. Sure. The family would go through certain things, as you just read through with those statistics, certain things that they wouldn't have to go through if the father was there. So I think having a father there, one, it is important for the father to be there, one, to be able to bring that vision to the house.
Yeah, bring the vision to the house. I totally agree with that. What about you, John?
It's been said that a father is a daughter's first love, a son's first hero.
Wow.
And for me, growing up, I wanted to be like my dad. That was the example, the model of manhood for me. I wanted to be exactly like him growing up as a little boy.
Yeah.
I think the importance of fathers being in the home, I think fathers are our first line of authority, where it's the first person who's going to help model what authority is supposed to be. I think it's fathers that bring structure. I think it's fathers that bring forth guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is also fathers, and this is important, very important to me, it is fathers that affirms identity.
Yes.
My daughters, when they were maybe 4 and 5, now they think they're running the world, but when they were 4 and 5, they would put these little dresses on and different things, and their aunts will be in the home and other women, and all the women would say to them, "You look cute, you look cute, you look beautiful." And none of that mattered. They wanted to know what daddy said. Daddy, what do you think? And something about the father affirming his son or his daughter, I think, matters. And I personally believe that's why we have the amount of confusion we have in the world as it pertains to identity. I think that's part of the identity crisis, is that we're not seeing enough fathers, and put it that way. There are a plethora of fathers doing it, but I still think more fathers need to step up and affirm their child's identity, their children's identity. I think it was Frederick Douglass who said it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Wow.
So I think we need to start celebrating fathers, and I'm with you wholeheartedly. Come Sunday, I don't want to see, at least for me, I don't want to see the mothers. I don't care how much you can bench press at the gym.
I can't.
I would like to see fathers celebrated. And I get it. They're super women. they're doing everything they're phenomenal mothers. We get it. And they were doing it by themselves. But we've got to start celebrating the fathers that stepped up
Mm-hmm.
and honor them. And so, yeah, those are my
I
thoughts.
wholeheartedly agree. Apostle Duhart, I'm coming to you because I want to just piggyback off of a few things that they were saying. But what I've gathered is that just the role of the father carries so much weight. Their presence carry so much weight. Their words carry so much weight, especially with the children. Um, why do you believe, and it's not to brush off a mother's love, but why do you believe that children are like that as it pertains to their fathers? Oh, and your mic is muted, Apostle.
Thank
Oh,
you.
there we
I'm
go.
sorry. My internet went down. It just crashed while my dad's right. Let me just say this. I think it's several things. I think one of the things I feel is really centered around the idea that in our nation and our culture that we're living in now, there's this all-out threat, onslaught to demasculate men. There's
Yes.
this uh, there's this castration of manhood. There's this redefining of what that looks like. When I was a kid, there's certain things unique to the boy or to the man experience, the male experience, right? If you were outside, at least in our day, you was outside playing football. You didn't come inside to use the restroom. You went outside by the trees, the bushes. This is what you did. You drank out the water hose. There were certain things that we did as young men that were unique to a young male's experience. In today's culture, even though I'm being somewhat sarcastic, some of that stuff has been cut off. And I think it's been this
Hmm.
programming or reprogramming or deprogramming, if you will, of the male experience. And how do we qualify that? What does that look like? How is that defined? And some of that is, I believe, a demonic ploy to demasculate men. I really do
Yes.
believe
Mm-hmm.
that many of our successful comedians and etc. people of our time um, have blew up once they put dresses on. It's just this whole thing that
Hmm.
demasculates manhood. This is my humble opinion. In addition to that, there's also the responsibility of what it looks like to be a you act about children. I believe that a father's responsibility to some degree is to help govern purpose, right? So when God sends a child to a man or to a woman, that responsibility for that man, at least from his seat, is to help steward that child's why. I'm
Speak.
responsible for discerning, paying attention to, um, picking up, maybe watching your rhythms, your patterns as a child, and what your gifts, your talents may land. And I think when you extract that father out of that household, or at least from that responsibility, the seat of that responsibility, then that child grows up with a lack of understanding of who they are and what they have the capability to do. The father's words go so much further um, than we think. I'll give an example, and I'll concede here. Years ago, I was studying the Yoruba people, and I was looking at the way their tribes work, right? So the oldest or the most antiquated member of that tribe was responsible for making sure that any child that was sent through a mother's womb had the responsibility read into their hearing early, from the time that they were born, conceived, or should I say, pushed out of that mother. From the time that baby was breathing in oxygen, that Yoruba king, priest, whatever, but the eldest member of that tribe, that elder would read into the hearing of that baby what their assignment was to be to that tribe. And we're
Mm.
talking about people who don't necessarily believe the way we believe, but they understood the importance of purpose and assignment being wrapped inside flesh. And they understood that if the God had sent them this particular child, that child is sent to answer questions, that child is sent to answer problems, that child is sent to accomplish something that this tribe is missing. And so when they prayed and someone got pregnant, that child was an answer to what their concerns and their problems were. I think
Hmm.
as African Americans, or should I say Black people, whatever, it's our responsibility to awaken men and our women back to the responsibility of allowing a man to help discern and craft to some degree what a child's purpose is, to help them steward that, to steward it well. I'll say
Yes.
this. One of the things I was really excited about, because this topic really gets me stirred, was seeing so many fathers on the football field, right?
Hmm.
And years ago, like, man, these guys, Pop Warner and Typhoid, I mean, it's blowing up, right? But what I was really most stirred about is seeing fathers out there like myself spending time with their children,
Yes.
affirming their sons, affirming their skill set, affirming their daughters, and so I think it's important because the father has the initially the way a child sees God is how they see their dad, and they're
Yes.
hardwired that way until later. And we parent oftentimes from our judgments initially
Mm-hmm.
until our convictions catch up with us. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I think it's important.
That's good. That is so so good. And I totally agree with everything that has been stated from all of you. We were talking about just the ploy of emasculating men and diminishing, the role. And this was something, and I can do further study on it, but I think we can even go as far back as, I mean, probably 1960s, 70s, 80s, or the time where the government was introduced, assistance, you know what I'm saying? And you really couldn't get, to my understanding, couldn't get assistance if you lived in a home with a man and you weren't married to them. And
True.
so they had to be out of the home in order for you
Yeah.
to get the help unless you were married. And I do believe that part of that has caused women to also rely on government assistance, and kind of just make the idea that the role of the man is kind of null and void when you have the government. That's just another aspect to kind of just look at when you talk about research and you talk about history. So because we were talking about how men establish the vision, and how affirmation from our fathers is so important, how the men help govern purpose. Is there a scripture reference? Does it start with Adam? Where can they find a reference biblically that puts it in black and white about how God established the household to be?
I
Asa,
think
can you speak on that? Can any, or Apostle? Go ahead, Apostle. Go ahead. I saw you. Go ahead. No, Pop.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, doctor.
You good?
okay. Well, I would like to yield first of all. Yeah, we could start with Adam. We could, but literally a chapter away, his whole family went crazy. You know,
Yes, go ahead. Let's go.
his, his son kills his son. You know, but if we could really, consider maybe Joseph as an example
Let's
of
go.
what that would look like to raise this child that is not inherently his, if I can argue that for a moment, and his
Okay.
commitment, right, to stewarding the purpose of Christ, right?
Mm,
If so much as hiding him out in Egypt, being attentive to what the Spirit of God, the ebbs and flows of what the Spirit of God is leading him to do with his family, his commitment to a woman that he wasn't able to be with until she gave birth into this child,
wow.
and watching the way this moved, and even so much moving his people from one place into to Nazareth, which would some modern day theologians would say would be comparable to a very, for lack of a better phrase, ratchet environment, and still stewarding Christ with this entrepreneurial grace as
Yeah.
a carpenter himself, and being in the life of Jesus and his brothers. And so I think that will be an example. John the Baptist's father, Zacharias, is another who, when it comes to stewarding his child's purpose, wanted to name him something, wanted to bring him up in the family way. And the angel says, no, you cannot name him what you want to name him. His name shall be John. He is a
Yeah.
Levite. And he's the only son of Zacharias, which means his responsibility was to be the same as his father's, but him yielding to the Spirit of God concerning his son because he was carved out for something different, right? And so I
Mm,
do think there's several biblical blueprints of fathers. We can look at the most famous personalities in Scripture, like David, and you can see the multiplicity of mistakes, right? What it looks like to be absentee, what it looks
yeah.
like to go from this house to this other woman's house and raise her. He had courts. So one season he with Solomon, another season he's with his brothers, his half brothers.
Yeah.
It's so you see how that family dynamic was somewhat chaotic. But I think the Word of God is full of moments and opportunities and lessons you can gain from every father throughout Scripture, what to do and what not to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else want to hop in on that? Anybody else?
I mean, he gave great
Mhm.
illustrations in the Bible. I do know that one of the ultimate situations is how God is a father and how God, what is that? Let me find it. It's Proverbs. Yeah, Proverbs 3:11. It says, "My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines who he loves. As a father, the son he delights in." It's kind of like, our father loved us. Like when a father delights himself in his children, and that's where that affirmation comes in, because when your children don't even seem to deserve anything because they were just all out of control, it's kind of like they still deserve the love. It's our responsibility to chasten our children, and to see how God, we think God hates us and think is this a wrath, but no, he loves us
Yeah.
and he chastens us. So he's an example of a father, and understanding that even what he did with his son, and it's just, we can unpack that like really crazy, but it love comes in many packages, and I just believe that you can't just love someone without giving them the full kit and caboodle. Like, you have to chasten them, you have to
That's
love
good,
them,
Asa.
you have to celebrate them, you have to rebuke them, you have to do everything to make sure that child. That's why it says train a child as they go and they won't depart from it. Once you teach a child something, that's what they are. There's a study that says that when a child is 7 or 8 years old, they already just decided how they want to be. So it's amazing, as we see children that's 7 or 8, we think they just kids, and we think they ain't know nothing, they ain't doing nothing. They're watching mama, they watching daddy, they really
Mm-hmm.
watching daddy. And if they see daddy doing things, and sneaking off doing things, or beating the mother and all these other kind of stuff, this is what the child is going to decide they want to be or not be. At 7 or 8, they are looking to decide how they're going to be. So
Wow.
I just believe that looking at God as the ultimate father and how he deals with blessings and chastening and the whole kick and caboodle is another example.
That's good. That's good. Anybody else? Okay, so when it comes to being present, and I'm going to kick off with you, Dad, what does it mean to be present? I am present. So let's just say, for example, um, I didn't mention this statistic, but it says that even when it comes to fathers who are in the same household, like a married household, they're physically present, but not emotionally present.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what does it mean to be a father that is present? And then I want to probably hop to some of you who can probably speak on this. How do you remain present when your children don't live with you and primary custody is with the mother? How do you remain present? So, what does that mean to be present?
Um, well, I would say to be present with your children. One, you talked about how to be there emotionally.
Yeah,
I think that's important, very important actually, to let your children know you love them in
yeah,
spite of what they may go through or deal with,
yeah,
because children now are going through so many different things, especially
yeah,
in the hour that we're in right now. They're challenged with so much. And I think it's important, very important, especially for fathers, to be present with letting their children know that they love them and that they're there for them.
yeah. When it comes to being present and you don't live in the same household
Hmm.
as your children, I'm pretty sure that that can be quite interesting. And sometimes that dynamic is interesting depending on the relationship with the mother.
Hmm.
So, what would you say in regards to a man who may be dealing with the struggle of wanting to be present, wanting to be around their children, but they're fighting against the mother per se, or whoever has the custody of the children.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had baby mama drama.
Okay.
back in back in the day. I did have that situation, but um, I made it my I made it I made a conscious decision to
Yeah.
really be there for my children.
Okay.
To My daughter was with her mom, and sometimes yes, she will flip out, don't want me to see her, don't want me to pick her up, but I had to use wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to communicate with her so
Yeah.
that I was able to see my child.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would get my child, I would let Brittany, the youngest daughter, well, she's one of the younger ones. I would let her know, that dad is there,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, sometimes you deal with these different situations with these parents and these mothers, and they can poison their children to make them think,
Okay.
the father is not there,
That is true.
dad is not, doing what he's supposed to do. But I wanted to make sure with my situation that my kid's mother didn't have the ability to do that, would not
Sure.
do that.
Sure. So you made a conscious decision that despite the obstacle that was placed before you, you were
Mm-hmm.
going to do everything that you can
Absolutely.
to get past that roadblock. You
Mm-hmm.
use wisdom, even as it pertains to your speech, because sometimes words can set people off.
Mm-hmm.
You say the wrong thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? There's a cutoff. So I commend you on actually committing,
Mm-hmm.
committing to the fact that, I'm going to be the father that I am. I probably want to have more time spent or want to be present more, but I'm going to do whatever I need to do with the time that I'm allotted with my children.
Mm-hmm.
John, what is your thoughts on that? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think oftentimes the fathers give up on the fight because they're driven by whatever issues they have going on with the mother. And I think we have to learn how to be driven by our love for our children as opposed to the disdain we may have for their mothers.
Yeah,
Um,
so true.
o- Oftentimes, dealing with that whole battle of a baby mama, put it that way, that may not want you to see your child. Again, you have to go back to your love for your child. When you let that be the motivating factor, you will jump through hurdles to make sure that you're present. And if I could speak back to the father who is physically present but
Go ahead.
maybe emotionally absent, I'll be honest with you, some fathers I don't think understood how to be emotionally present. My father um, didn't speak much, but when he did speak, there was a lot of wisdom that came out of his mouth.
Okay.
A lot of what I learned, I didn't learn because my dad sat with me and taught me. Although there are times that he sat with me and gave me a lot of instructions and taught me a lot. But a lot of his actions taught me a lot more than what came out of his mouth. For example, I'll never forget, my dad used to travel some 15 days out of the month, and he was gone away from his family.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my dad coming home and saying to my mom, I'm just going to shut down the business. I'm going to do something locally here. That way I can spend more time with my family. As a child, I remember that registering to me that family is more important, that family come first.
Wow.
Dad never sat with me and said family is super important. He didn't have to, but his actions spoke volumes to me. And so being present, I want to emphasize, matters. And I'm not saying I'm advocating for fathers who are emotionally absent or mentally absent. I think we should try um, to be as present as we can in our children's life, both emotionally, spiritually,
Yeah.
mentally. However, a father's physical presence speaks volume. Um, my dad could stand in the room and show. We used to drive my mom crazy. Be very honest with you. My dad would show up in the house and order stepped in the home. We all lined up, and my father was not the biggest disciplinarian, if I could say that. My mother gave all the whipping. She whooped us nonstop. But it was something about my father's presence. The moment he stepped in the home, everybody got in line. We all, you know, 4 boys in the house. We were just wild, but we all lined up. And so I think the father's presence carries a lot of weight. And it is my belief as to why the enemy fights to remove the fathers out of their children's lives so much. And so I think it's imperative that we're present. And concerning the baby mama situation, just for me, uh, I think that we have to allow our love for our children to drive us as opposed to whatever we have going on with the baby mamas. I love how Bishop said he had to use a lot of wisdom. Sometimes it may require you humbling yourself in the midst of all the yelling and all the bickering. You know, hey, you're absolutely right, you know, but I just want to see my son, or just want to see my daughter. I just want to love them. And so we have to allow that love that we have for our children to drive us. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I love that. I want to follow up with this question because I'm not playing devil's advocate, but it seems as though the presence, the physical presence seems to carry more weight than the emotional presence. And I don't know if that's like completely true or not, but my question would be, do you think it's equally important to be physically and emotionally present as a father? And here's why I asked that question. Because I do know it's not as easy as men to actually be vulnerable with your emotions, right? We've seen the memes, we've seen all of the crazy stuff that actually make fun of men who are emotional. So I'm wondering if the absence of that emotional presence is because the lack thereof that was presented, you know, from fathers that would say that it's okay to show emotion, and emotionally present also to me translate that as a daughter, I want to be able to come to my father and have a talk with my father about things that bothered me or that I've gone through. And you be able to say, hey, okay, you know, I'm listening, I'm here for you, because your presence alone is not going to be able to reach me as much as you being able to speak words, because words are powerful. They are so powerful. The power of life and death is in your tongue. And it doesn't just work for you, but it works for how you speak. We talked about affirmation and affirming your children. If my father can speak words of affirmation into me concerning certain situations in my life, that is, to me, it honestly supersedes just the physical
Yeah, I
aspect
agree.
of my father. Now, I maybe, you know, sons are a little different, but women are more tapped in to their emotions. Listen, let me just tell you something. Gosh, we're just gonna get into my business just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit, because my biological father, and most people, this is so funny, they don't know that this is not my biological father, and that's cool, because I mean, you shouldn't be able to tell, right? But my biological father, there was that missing, there was that tear there. I'm going to say tear. I'm going to use the word tear because I didn't have those words of affirmation as a daughter growing up. Actually, I had the opposite without getting further into it. And I honestly didn't realize how much it affected me because my mother was such an example of grace. She was a strong woman, even when he came into our lives. So me having that example of that mother who was there, who also was emotionally present for me at the time, I really didn't realize how much his absence emotionally, and kind of physically to a degree, didn't affect how it affected me, truly affected me, until like later on. And I am still kind of just processing and navigating through that. But for me, I could only help but wonder what would have happened if things were different. If that safe space for me to actually be able to connect with him on that level was there, how would it have positively impacted, you know, my life? And the thing is, I wanted to share, because my brother, my oldest brother, uh, Joshua Brown. Shout out to him. My goodness, is an amazing father to his children. And I look at how his daughters react to him. He's not only physically present, but he's emotionally present to his daughters. And he is the opposite of our father. So for me, I don't know. I need y'all to speak to that because I don't want to get the wrong idea. I think that sometimes that emotional presence supersedes just the physical aspects of it, and that.
Oh, I lost audio.
Okay, let me see. You guys got me
Oh, there
back.
it is. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it is a challenge for men to tap into their emotions. Um, one being because we were not raised that way.
Okay.
We were raised to, to be strong. Men don't cry. Um, it's a challenge for us to get past this. It's almost like a wall that we have up,
Okay.
and to tap into that emotion, to dig deeper, and to have those kind of conversations that will cause us to be vulnerable and emotional. So we want to be the strong ones.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be the muncher one. When we like, I believe my brother said, when we step in the house, everything falls into order. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we're accustomed to. That's what we've seen. And you know, having a daughter sometimes can be challenging for us
Okay.
because, like you said, you daughters need that emotional side of us, and sometimes we fail to give them that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And sometimes they don't even tell us that they need it. And I think that's what brings a balance with a mother and father. That's why it's so important to have both of them in the house, because the mother can give that emotional, that 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 part of you, that part of her that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying that the father can't, but I think it's more of a challenge for us to do
I,
so.
I agree. You said there's a wall. Can someone tell me where that wall came from?
I don't think it's a justified real wall. I think it's what Bishop just said. We learned that it was a learned behavior
Uh-huh.
that men supposed to not, it's a narrative that I always as a young child thought was not real and wasn't true. My father he wasn't affectionate, and I was an affectionate boy.
Mm.
And I didn't expect my father to be all gooey with me, but I wanted a hug sometime.
Mm.
I wanted to feel that, but he was a provider. And that's what he was taught. Man, you get a job, you provide for your family. And so for me, I never thought the wall was justifiably like real. Like I told myself, I had to teach myself that when I get older, that I wasn't going to be this person that's not available. So as I started understanding the psychological side of it, the mental health side of it, I learned that let's just talk about a solution. One of my
Yes.
solutions that I feel for us that I wish someone would have taught me even coming up is it's a relationship. A relationship is a relationship. The same principles that two friends have, a husband and wife have, a business partner has, the relationship that you have with your child, it is a relationship and it has to be developed because the man is so strong and what he says kind of goes. You notice that when dad wants to eat chicken, that's what the house ate. If dad did not want to go to this place right here, the family didn't go. I
Mm.
think if we as fathers of the house can look at it as a relationship and try to learn what our children need, learn
Mm-hmm.
who they are, because if you're not an affectionate person, think about when you're not affectionate and you older and you got a child that wants affection, you find yourself giving that child affection even though you don't want it. You just feel like, well, this is what my child needs, so I'm
Mm.
gonna do it.
You
I really don't
sacrifice.
need it,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, I feel like if fathers can think about what the children need and whatever struggles and walls that are
You guys
there,
are doing good. Yes.
if they can be moved out of the way for that child, so that child can grow up with normalcy,
Yeah.
believe that just because I didn't have it, that doesn't mean my legacy has to not have it.
That's
And
right.
this is
Yes.
how we break the curse, because though my father didn't have it, okay, and then here I am, I had it a little bit, because why? Because I had a mother that hugged and kissed all over me. Now I got my children. No, let's break that curse. I
Yes.
do not have to, my children and their children and their children don't have to not see that. They can actually, have the normalcy that a child, if they can grow up and decide they don't like it. You know what? My dad used to hug on me. I really don't need that. Okay, well, you better. I tell my sons to this day, the way y'all are, because because DNA is DNA. Sometimes you have families that are affectionate, and then you have some families that are not affectionate, and that's just kind of how it is. I'm
Yeah.
like, when you get married and y'all have children, you better hug your children. You better
It's
spend time
important.
talking to them. You better do that. And I just think it's no different than a husband that knows he ain't got time to be fooling with no flowers, but he knows if he wants to put a smile on her face, he's gonna bring some home. It might not be what he wants. It's a relationship. That don't mean give the child what they want and spoil them and let them be in charge. It just means find out what they need.
Yes,
They
sir.
might not even need that. They might need something else. They might just need you to talk to them. Well, if that's what my child needs and I don't feel like talking, I'm going to learn how to talk, because it's my responsibility and we talked about affirmation. We talked about identity and all these other things. We need to remove ours out of the way so the children can
Yes.
get what they need.
That's so good.
I,
That's so
I
good.
saw I saw you unmute your mic, Apostle. What you got to say?
Well, first of all, I want to apply what Asaph said is brilliant. It's one key phrase that he used, though, that I really, it just stirred me. And that was, he had to teach himself. That's the key. You have to teach yourself. Bishop called it a wall. And Asaph saying, hey, we got to ourselves to get over the wall, right? Because it's not as he used the phrase, it's not a justifiable wall. Can I use and borrow a little bit of some clinical verbiage for a moment, right?
Please.
If we don't tap into that place emotionally, what happens is within our children, we produce arrested development. And so they may grow, they may develop in stature and size, but as it pertains to the emotional man and the choices that they make, their imagination, etc., what happens is they become suspended at 6 years old, wanting that part of them to be addressed, to be made whole, to be affirmed, to be loved, to be encouraged, to be instructed. And then they look for fulfillment in other areas to cover, to heal, to speak to touch, to apprehend that 6-year-old wound. I think as fathers, we oftentimes come to a space, even from my own journey, where you lead, or you father, or you are a husband, or you are a pastor, but you do these things from either two places: a healed perspective of an inner vow, or an unhealthy perspective of an inner vow. For instance, it looks like this: I'll never raise my kids the way my parents raised me. Now, either A, you got choices. You can heal from that vow, or you can continue in that place. Because if you continue in that place, then you end up repeating the very thing you judged, right? And so you are who you judge. You are what you judge. You are that. You are that until you heal from that judgment and start moving to a place of conviction. Conviction says, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the work to do myself, to make sure. And watch this. It also looks like this. I'm not going to judge them for what I didn't get. I realized they wasn't raised to give me that.
Absolutely.
I have to do the work to make sure that I can love them where they were and for the best job that they felt that they can do and provide for me.
Absolutely.
But I got to make sure that I do this as well without judging that, right? And so it takes time, as Asaph said, to teach yourself. You have to teach yourself. And that may look like a therapist. It may look like healthy conversation with a good group of guys. It may look like talking to your pastor, or whatever that looks like. But you have to do the work intentionally to say, hey, what is it in me that's making me not tell you I love you? What's that thing that's making me second guess saying this to you? Like, what is that thing, that resistance in me that's making me not be honest about how I emotionally feel about you? And when you notice you have that tug, then you got to do that work to say, okay, what is that? What is that?
Yeah.
What is that? Because the reason why that's resisting me is because this person, this child, needs that from me. They need that. And that resistance is trying to cause me, as Asaph said, to open up another cycle of another generation of arrested development in the areas of emotionalism and men being. We cry in the presence of Jesus. It's okay to cry because you miss someone. It's okay to say, "Hey, I love you. You know, I love you," and there's nothing you can do. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna shut up. My father-in-law, he's in heaven, was an evangelist. And when I came to Jesus, first of all, I am a Kojic baby. I am fourth generation preacher. I grew up Church of God in Christ. That was our gang. And then when I left that, because I saw anyway, I saw a lot.
Yeah, I got you.
And, and so for 3 years, I would alhamdulillah. My thing was I went to Islam and I stayed there and I hung out, NOI because these guys were black men, affirming black men, encouraging black men. The reason I came back to Christianity is twofold. The first one is because I never felt the presence of Allah. Wow. No matter how many times I would pray, I never felt the presence of Allah. Number two, the man of God, my father-in-law, said to me these words when I started dating his daughter. And he said to me these words. He said, "I love you, and ain't a thing you can do about it." That man told me that every time I saw him. He did not know that he was fracking through emotional arrested development. That thing healed me from the inside out because a man said he loved me. My dad was present. My dad's amazing. My dad is still amazing, right? But he didn't grow up doing all of that type of stuff. And like Asaph, I like to hear those words occasionally, right? And but my father, I'm trying to not get emotional, he fracked that thing until not only did I know it and understand it, but I don't let my kids leave. It's hardwired in me now. I made a decision. You're going to get what I wanted, and I'm going to make sure it's culture for you. That's it. But thank you, Asaph. You started that.
You made a decision. I'm so sorry. This is crazy. You have real quick. I'm sorry. You said arrested development. What's crazy is that is a byproduct of what a young adolescent child develops a preoccupied or dismissive attachment style. And what's really crazy is we think that just because we're grown now that we don't turn into those 7-year-olds. When you 7 years old, when you're 7 years old, and whoever loves you, whoever your parents were, father, mother, brother, sister, it doesn't matter. When you were taught at 7 years old to be dismissive to love because you're afraid of getting hurt, you're going to grow up and be afraid to want to hear somebody say, "I love you." You're going to be afraid to hear it. You're going to be afraid to tell somebody else. You're going to not tell nobody that, so they won't tell you that. And that arrested development you're talking about, it's a dysfunctional place that it's a byproduct of something we could have smashed when we were 7 and 8 if our parents. So you know what you just told me, Apostle? You told me that you believe in evolving what the generations before is doing. That's what generations should do. Let's just evolve. Okay, my grandfather, he was this. My father, he was this. You know what? I was this. My son needs to be this. Let's evolve and smash the dysfunctional attachment styles that we have at a young age. You can help your child now, and they can grow up and they can have that emotional. I'm done. I'm sorry. This is great.
No, this was. Let me tell you how good this was, because it even spoke to me. Like, my family, they're watching, and they're present in the house. They know, as far as I am concerned, as far as it pertains to sharing, oh my gosh. So I would be the least or the last to be the physical, lovey, verbal, lovey person. And I was more of, I like to serve. This is how I show my love. Like, I'm there for you, what you need. But hugging on me, and my sister, oh God, I love her. She's watching. But Tanya, she's the one like, hey, come hug you, squeeze you, kiss, and it's like, oh, But I want to tell you something. It wasn't just her that broke through this. Mom said she loved. I mean, you spoke those words, But I really believe that things changed for me when I had my son. And I saw how loving he was as my child, and how he wants to come and just lay on me and rest his head and, Mom, are you okay? And he would never, ever want to leave my side without saying, I love you. And he taught me. He really started breaking things in me, because I had to identify, where did this resistance come from? It's not that I love my family. I really do. They know I do. But I had this desire, like, man, I want to be more physical. My sister said, help her, Jesus. I want to be more physical, and I want to say the words. I want to mean it, because I do mean it. But where did this resistance come from? And I had to dig down inside to find out, what was it? Was it something that actually stemmed from what I desired from my biological father? I had to really go back, because I was shown love, but there was a part of me also that did not get what I needed, that was also damaged harshly. I will say that. And so him, my child, being the loving child that he is, really helped me. And I say it more often. I could be physical a little better. I could be better physically, just a little more. But I've gotten better, so much better, with my hugs and kisses, and saying it. But I just wanted to say that spoke volumes to me, Apostle. What you were saying about finding out, like, what is that? Why is that? Because I literally had to do that and be honest with myself and go back to that 7-year-old who saw things, didn't see the example, and didn't see the love shown between my biological father and my mother, which were married at the time. I had to go back and revisit the places where the words that were supposed to be affirming were actually curses spoken over me. And I had to deal with my heart, and I had to deal with having the desire, but then saying, you know what? I got to make peace with the fact that I may not ever get that. And trust that God will actually fill in the gaps, which he has. But it started with me being honest with myself and going back to actually identify and deal with it. So I want to speak on that. Oh, my brothers and sisters, they are something else, boy, in this comment section. But I just wanted to share that helped me. So yeah. Anybody else want to speak on that? Okay. So moving on. This is good. And we're hurrying to an end, but I wanted to speak to this because I think this is also important. With the society that we live in, especially nowadays, the things that we're seeing, and we spoke on that earlier, how does it affect the mental health of our men and being a father? Does it have an effect, a negative effect? Just we talked about the ploy to castigate, and we see you mentioned, Apostle, how seeing men put on dresses is a thing that gave them notoriety, and all of these different things. Our men being killed and slain, unjustly. All of these things that are happening and have happened. Does it affect you as a father? How does it affect your mental health? And what are things you can do to overcome? Go ahead, Apostle. I saw you unmute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to be quick because I definitely want to hear what Asaph and John have to say, but I want to get mine out the way because I want to hear what these incredible, intelligent men have to say. I was talking to one of my spiritual sons today, and we were talking about what's happening in the country and whatnot, and I said, hey man, I think what we don't understand is how numb we are. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, years ago, if we happen to see somebody being shot on the internet or whatnot, you would cringe, you would jump because you were in disbelief. Oh my God, they shot this person 5 times. But most recently, you can see something in Instagram or Reel, whatever, and you would see it may not even flinch because there's this desensitization thing that's happening in culture that makes us somewhat numb to the things that really matter and that matter to the heart of God. I said that to say, as it pertains to fatherhood, if it's happening just in life in general, it's definitely happening um, in as it pertains to being a father, because you bring your life into your fatherhood. Year ago, I was at home watching Father's Day commercials for the Kleenex company, I think it was, and for Kleenex, and they had Happy Father's Day, and they had these women that were saying Happy Father's Day. And this was last year, and I got up. I was so infuriated, and I remember I remember telling my leaders, I said, I don't care what we do, we will never in the history of life ever do this um, within our church. And I thought about how, again, the deep program of men, that Father's Day, the day set aside for men, has to be shared. So you have Mother's Day, but now we got to share this moment with you. And even a month that we used to gear up for, gotta be careful here.
Go
Uh,
ahead and
uh,
say.
yeah, a month that we have geared up for to celebrate, great fathers. There are other things that are being championed in the marketplace. If you're at Target or whatnot, you don't really see that same push that you used to see in time past. Mother's Day, yeah.
Speak.
We got other things happening. It's just as important, right? And so and so men are someone getting the back seat. And so you see this, you're living through life, you're walking through life, and your the lens that the world sees you in is magnifying itself in your own lens, which causes you to question. And I think you don't even know how much damage is being done until you actually are walking this thing out. So yeah, I do believe that this is impacting your mental health. I think culture and the way they see men, is in specific men of color, especially black men, does impact you as a man. It impacts the way you handle yourself as a man. So I think we bring these areas where we're numb. We bring these areas where we've second guessed ourselves. We bring the areas, if I can go here, even in R&B, where our sisters are talking about how bad we are, and you can raise no man. You know what I mean? And so when you hear this through culture, you looked at a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
I think. Now, I know I'm saying a lot, but I think I have to use like Kevin Samuels. I don't know a whole lot about him. I watched a few things for here and there, and I'm not saying I agreed or disagreed with this brother. All I'm saying is I saw how many black men were running to his content to be affirmed. How many fathers were running to his content to be affirmed, right? Because I think mentally, overall, through culture, we are wrestling with, are we valued? Are we valued? I'm a black man. I'm with my children, whether I'm married to the mother or not. I'm doing my best. Am I valued?
Wow.
Do you see me?
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
But do you see me? I go to church and these pastors are preaching to these women and he ain't doing this. But do you see me? I'm here.
We got to do better.
Yeah.
What? Do you see me, man?
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm present, right? My best friend YPJ says it like this, man. Hate hollers and support is silent. I think we got to do a better job
Yes.
of speaking up, because those that support you, very quiet. Everything around you is crazy. So I think we have to do a better job of affirming men in churches. I got to shut up. This Sunday is Father's Day. I don't want to let the cat the bag, but I don't think all of my brothers on here. I got the red carpet rolled out for these brothers. I got Coming to America being played when you come into the foyer of our church. We got I'm treating everybody like the king of Zamunda because we only got one day a year. So let's make it big.
Listen, we are not doing enough. And I told y'all from the beginning, I'm not biased. I'm a very honest person. And I do not believe we are doing enough to support our men, specifically African American men. And it's not exclusive, but this is the world that I live in. We're not doing enough. And it's sad because we can be better. We shouldn't feed the narrative. But we should support the ones who are, and let's broadcast what is you know what I'm saying, happening that is positive. We're always broadcasting what's pessimistic, what they not doing. Da, 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 da. But how many times, and us as women, we know we can have a mouth on us, okay? And sometimes the words that you say, you don't even recognize that you're not even championing him or even applauding the good he has done. What good has it? Because you applauding, men know, women know, we know when we drop the ball, okay? And sometimes it's just the tone and the way you communicate, what you communicate and how you communicate. It's so important. But don't be so quick to always just highlight what they didn't do. But what did they do that was right? Because by you just highlighting what they did that was right can encourage them to do better. Our words, y'all, are so powerful, especially as women, man. Because I do believe that men whether they say it or not, they look for that. They desire that.
Right.
These men are not our kids. Our husbands are not our children. Like, come on. Like, we have to make sure that let me shut up because I'm going down something else. I'm just saying that it is so important, y'all, that we are careful because they do carry a lot. They do carry a lot of weight on their shoulders. There's a lot that is going on. And I think it's so important that we be wise as women. And the Bible speaks to us too, ladies, in Proverbs. So I'm just saying, let's do our part, not just as women, as wives, baby mothers, as a society to support our men. John, Asa, Dad, anybody want to speak? John, go ahead.
I think Apostle dealt with what's happening in our society, how it's impacting men, and then he provided a solution for that. That person at his church, he's going to be rolling out the red carpet. I think one other thing that we can add to this is normalizing therapy for men.
Yes.
I think with everything we're already dealing with as it pertains to what's happening in our world today, you have men who are fathering and we're filled with trauma and we're carrying that trauma into how we father our children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's imperative that we normalize therapy. I know there's this whole stigma in our community that to go see a therapist somehow makes you crazy, or to sit with a counselor makes you cuckoo. But I think it's imperative that we teach our men that it's okay to actually sit and talk to a professional, to have somebody, a mentor, somebody help them navigate through some of the traumas they've experienced, some of what's going on in their head, to try to make sense of what they're experiencing.
Yes.
And I think that would be a big aid as it pertains to helping men father and still be insane, because it carries its own challenges.
Yeah.
I absolutely love my daughters. Absolutely love my daughters. But I'm raising girls. I remember having a sit down with my daughter about her menstrual cycle. I had to have a conversation about her having. I had absolutely nothing about
Wow.
a girl having a menstrual cycle. Here I am sitting on YouTube trying to get as much information as I possibly can, and I'm sitting here trying to have a conversation with her. I'm watching the changes happen in her life, and I'll be honest with you, part of me is frightened. I'm scared. I'm not sure, which all of that affects you mentally. And so I think we have to normalize therapy in our community. I think that'll be a great aid in fathering.
Absolutely. Asa, I want you to speak, but I also want you to speak to solutions as well. What solutions are available or accessible? And while I'm letting Asa speak, I want you guys to go ahead, because we're going to answer just a few questions. If you have questions, go ahead and start dropping them in the comment section. But Asa, go ahead and speak to what I just mentioned. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. I will introduce one. It is the elephant that is in the world right now that we're not discussing. It's a dysfunctional thing, because the truth is the world has we're supposed to have a relationship with value, relationship with affirmation, relationship with identity. I'm hearing all of these different things we're saying. The relationship we have on the low isn't with that. It's with money. So what happens is if you really think about money, women is the market. We know that Target is going to push things during Father's Day because they know women are going to spend money. So it's kind of like money in general is one of the dysfunctional things that actually happens with I guess pushing men, backwards a little bit, because guess what? We don't really like spending money unless the women want us to spend money. It's kind of like we're not really trying to just do that. We'll get some for ourselves here and there, but it's about money when it comes to Father's Day. I was just speaking towards ads and speaking towards women getting up doing this and doing that. It's like really women are very thorough. They are very educated. They are consistent. And what ends up happening is men, we end up feeling a fear of not being successful. And what we have to do now is the people who are successful that are mentoring some of us are women. So now what's happening is men, we're not mentoring each other to go after what we want. Get what you need to do. Get your education. Go ahead and get this credential. Go ahead and get this certification. Go ahead and get this job. We're watching women do it. So what ends up happening is it's just out of order of our mentorship. The mentors now are silent. They're not talking. We're not doing like Apostle said. If you don't get therapy, you got a pastor. You got Pastor Thornton. He's got a master's in counseling. And the thing is, some of these pastors can actually help with counseling, but we just do not want to talk. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I have to bring God into this. Being Christ-minded is a little different than just talking about God. We know all the same here, but when Christ came, everything changed.
Yeah.
And if men can be encouraged to be Christ-minded, then we can overcome a whole lot more of these dysfunctional things that are happening, because I'm telling you, men are discouraged because they don't believe that they have access to the world the way women do, the way other races do. And what we end up doing is women, and this is no slight to women, but because of social media, women end up feeding the dysfunction because they are entertaining the men that don't want to do anything. So you got magnifying, the men, there's a lot of dumb stuff going on, and women are entertaining men that are good examples. So that's being pushed. So you got reality shows and you got all this other stuff that's happening, and the Christ-minded men aren't being advertised.
No.
So to be honest with you, now take that woman that's entertaining a bad guy. You got to go back to 8-7 when she saw her father, like you were saying, be a bad guy, or watching her brothers be a bad guy, watching her uncles be a bad guy, not to mention some of those guys even violating them at a young age. So at the end of the day, the dysfunction has a lot to do with men on the mental health side. They do need to learn how to talk. I would love to know what resources churches like Apostles has, like a bishop has. There's not enough resources in the churches even to actually help. So who wants to go to a therapist that's going to encourage you to be with same-sex people and all kind of different things? It's hard finding the right people to counsel you. So at the end of the day, it's just a dysfunctional world. To me, Christ is the answer. I mean, I know that's churchy. But if we can encourage men to have a relationship with Christ, because Christ is how we get to the Father. And that's where peace comes from. If we can endorse that a little bit more, then we will say no to a lot of more different things. And then we'll say yes, because he says, knock at the door and he'll open it. There's nothing we can't ask him for that he won't do. Right. This is the Father that tells us that he has everything for us. Whatever we need, he's got it. But we're not promoting that. We're promoting a lot of humane, solutions. And that's why one of the solutions, and I'm gonna just talk about this one, and someone else can can go with it. There are different therapists out there that you can reach out to. I'm sure the pastors, you all have programs and things that y'all can do. But I'm going to tell you, when you got Christ on your side and you're making decisions because your spirit is no longer losing to the flesh, because you are being Christ minded.
Yeah.
A man needs to do that, because when a man don't have Christ, he can't cover a woman. He can't cover a woman. And if he ain't covering his woman, he ain't covering his house. We need to have Christ. Christ is the answer to me. And I'm sorry I had to be churchy.
No, it's not
I am
about
a
being
believer.
churchy.
I am a Christ-minded man. And because of that, I can do anything I want. I'm Ace of War because of that. And I just had a relationship with him for the past 2 years, because my relationship was with church. It wasn't with Christ. It was with church. I felt him, spoke in tongues, did all of that. But I was following what church told me to do. I was following what money told us to do. But now that I follow Christ, I can't help but do my children right. I can't do nothing but help my children. I can't help but help someone else's child. I can't help but be the right mentor. I'm not going to be out in the street sleeping around with everybody. Why? Because I'm Christ-minded. But when your mentors is out in the streets, what do?
Woo!
So the men, last takeaway, we got to be better mentors. Because at some point, we're not 20 no more. We're not 30 no more. We're not 40 no more. And we're not 50 no more. And we got to help the next. And if we are poisonous, we can't help the men get better. We got to do better with Christ. We got to change our lifestyle, live better with Christ. So the men watching us that y'all don't think is watching us, they can grow up. They can learn how to open the door. Why? Because they saw you open the door for somebody. You know, we got to start living more Christ-like. And I ain't talking about no holiness or hell. Just be Christ-minded so you can say no to this flesh. Sometimes.
This is so good. This is really good, because I saw a comment earlier that said the church should be the greatest institution to equip, edify, and empower our men to become whole individuals. And I couldn't agree more to that. You said a mouthful full, and it was so good. I see these questions coming in. If we could put, I'm going to read whatever question is put on the screen. Let's go ahead and throw that up. So it says, yes, is mentorship among men still a thing? Asaph just talked about being better mentors. So I think he kind of just spoke to that. I think it is a thing. I mean, I'm not a man, but I'm saying I do believe that it is something that still happens, but a better job can be done with it. And he mentioned about being open to talk. So men who are Christ-minded need to open themselves up more to actually talk. And it's not just over the pulpit. More than just the pulpit. Can you have a conversation with me over the phone or outside or at a coffee shop to be more accessible? So I do believe that it is still a thing. We could just do a better job. What's the next question? I'll let them answer that. Is it more difficult for men to humble themselves to another man? Is it more difficult? That's a great question. Who wants to take that on? Is it more difficult?
I think it can be. I think it just depends on the man and where he is in his journey. I also think it depends also on the secrets in that man.
Oh, the secrets.
I think that certain vulnerabilities, mistakes, errors, inerrant decisions, poor choices that men can make that would cause them, even if they have healthy relationships, to withdraw and isolate, and not be fully upfront about where they really are. There is, with anybody, I don't want to say men, I've run into women with the same issue, that there is this facade, there is this character that we want to show people that we are, especially those of us in the body of Christ, right? There's this, I think Asaph was talking about, when we have this relationship with Christ, it transforms things. One of the things that men are looking for in the African-American community right now is transparency and identity together, right? So you're seeing this influx of Hebrew Israelitism, right? This dynamic of men who do life with other men, right? even if I don't fully agree with the doctrinal belief system, but there's still this principle in play, right? That I can be transparent about my journey and how I came to Yah, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's one thing that is missing in the church context, if we're speaking in that regard. I think for most men also is the ability to trust, because broken men can't make whole decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm broken, right, and my pride allows me to remain broken, because at some point broken is comforting if it's all I know. Israel comes out of Egypt, 400 years of slavery, oppression, and they spend a few days out and they want to go back, because sometimes liberation will enslave you if you don't have the maturation in your consciousness. So I think that for some men, I think it's finding the right guy to trust, and then I think in some cases it's coming to the end of your secrets. You probably haven't done yet, there's still more you want to do, you know what I mean? And so there's two ways to brokenness, right? Poor decisions, and then also how you were raised. But I think that when you come to the end of that, I think men can either you'll humble yourself or you'll be mixed into transparency.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Okay, here we go. When, where, and how do we save our young men today who's at home with their single moms? They have dads but no relationship in or out of the home. They're running to recreational drugs, sex, violence, etc. because they're hurting with no hope. When, where, how do we save the young men today? That's a loaded question.
Well, I think we've been talking about it a little bit. I think, again, being proactive. I'm going to use the word proactive. I may not have, I don't have a son that's struggling in those areas. And if I did, and he had a single mother, what we're used to doing is, I call it the theory, the trash theory. Sometimes we can see something on the ground and it's trash.
Mm-hmm.
But since we didn't put it there, we ain't going to do nothing about it. We just going to leave it there. And it can be in your space. It can be a part of you. And you like, man, this being on the ground makes me look like I'm dirty. But you won't mess with it because you won't even throw it away at the church because I didn't put it there. Somebody else better pick it up. This, that, and the other. Sometimes as fathers, as men, we can do that. We feel like just because our present situation doesn't cause for me to insert myself, we won't insert ourselves somewhere that we do see that there's a need. I do believe that there are dysfunctional boys that are around that's been through a lot, and once we see it and we just shake our head. But if all of us that know how to care, right,
yes,
and love of God, I think we should be more proactive and try to help, what we can do. I see a mother struggling. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I open doors no matter where I go. I open it up for everybody. I'm just not gonna open it up for somebody I'm with. I'm not gonna just do that. I'm gonna open it up for everybody, because what women need to do is go ahead and teach their boys how to be that too. Like, yes. It's almost like, here's a man that won't open your door. If women should just walk by the door and not move. Like, are you gonna open this door? I don't care if he's a stranger. Y'all got to help men learn how to treat another woman right. So, and be able to help another person. It's like, we got to do our part. Let's all jump in and be proactive, because we don't even know. Some of these boys, they want that attention, but because he's not our boy, we like, you know what? I'm going to pray for him. You know what I'm saying? I might talk to him about the basketball game. That ain't enough, And I think some pastors sometimes, it depends on what kind of size church a person can have, but sometimes we don't know what's happening in the church. Sometimes you just gotta jump out and say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take all the young men out, we're gonna go eat, we're gonna talk, let's just go talk. They might not talk, but it's like, I'm gonna treat everybody. We're gonna go talk, we're gonna talk sports, we're gonna talk this, we're gonna talk about some things, and then they're gonna say, wow, this person took some time out for me, and then they'll get a chance to do it. I think the solution for what that question is it takes a village.
It does.
And I just feel like if your intentions are right. Now, don't be proactive if your intentions are wrong, because you got some men that are predators and they prey on boys because they know that there's a dysfunction there and they're perverted. We're not talking about perverted men. I'm saying it out loud. None of you perverted men need to be doing that. That
Yes,
like
sir. Yes, sir.
if you're not your intentions are not pure, then go ahead and let somebody else who don't have a bad intention help. And then you ask God to just help you get through that, because perversion doesn't just come in a sexuality type of thing. It is so manipulative. It enjoys taking the innocence from a person. So that person, once they see that the man that came in their life that they trusted betrayed them, they develop a betrayal bond. Now they got a bond with betrayal, and everybody that they run into is gonna be attracted to people that can show betrayal. So I feel like it's a village. I think we all need to check ourselves. Asif, you didn't do enough last year. Do more this year. You see somebody needs some help them out. You know what? Go ahead and sow into somebody. Sometimes just sow into somebody and just encourage them. I try to do that, but it takes a village. And I think we can help these young men do that. And then I'm going to say this to the ladies. I know being single sometimes is very lonely. But if you're going to hang out with male friends, pick some dope friends, some king-minded men that can be around. When you just because you're thinking about just yourself, women just might choose the wrong guy to be around, and that's what the boy gonna look at, and he gonna want to beat them up. Trust me, he's gonna go down the wrong road. Let's just do better with thinking higher. Let's go high level. I'm dope. I'm great. This is beneath me. I am going to get a job. You know what? I'm going to provide for my family. I am going to open doors. I am going to get closer to Christ. Let's level up and then do the village. That's how we can help, because there's no foolproof plan. The world is perverted. It's crazy. Yeah. But that's my little thing. It takes a village.
It wasn't little. It was a lot.
I'm sorry.
And we appreciate it. I think we got one more question, I think. Oh, were you raising your hand for something, Apostle? Oh, okay, you're doing a thumb. Okay. While that question is being put up, I wanted to highlight this comment. I'm just going to read it. You don't have to put it up there, but it says there has to be spaces and places to have these open, honest, and transparent conversations, man to man, on a consistent basis. I couldn't agree more. This question says, why is it so hard? And I think Apostle Duhart touched on this. It says, why is it so hard for us as men to communicate with other men about the realness in and around us? Can you just in case this person missed it, can you kind of give a short synopsis to that?
Sure, yeah. Well, I think what my thought is that oftentimes the secrets of what we walking through in private are difficult to unpack. You don't trust a person with that because it may tarnish your image or the image of you have sculpted in front of them, and you're wanting people to still herald that character of who you are when that may, and this does not be who you truly are. So I think for a lot of men it could be that, and I think also for some men it's difficult to be real because we just don't trust as easy. If you grew up the way I grew up, you kind of come from a time where in the 90s that's all they talked about, and then whether it was the music or the culture, if you grew up in the hood, it was like, hey, we don't trust nobody. So that kind of stays with you. You know what I mean? You almost pride yourself. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust God, and you pride yourself on that, and it becomes a part of your culture, right? Your mind, your will, your emotions, your imagination. That's a system that you build in yourself. And so that culture has to be torn down. And oftentimes it's not until you're being abased that you have to become real. And one thing I know for certain is if a woman's praying for a man, at some point, that man will collapse into the will of God. That's it.
Well, that was good. I don't know if we have any more questions, but I will say this, that tonight has blessed me. So, if you have been blessed thus far by tonight, I need to see some hearts. I need to see those hands in the comment section flying across the screen, because this right here is fostering healing. I mean, empowerment. There was so much wisdom that was shared, even by the questions that were being asked. You were able to receive sound advice and just wisdom on how to move and navigate and how to heal. And so I really do hope that you guys receive that, both male and female, honestly. um, I want to say that one thing that was highlighted to me was the word accountability. Accountability, that's just what I see across the board. Accountability. Men, women, all of us all together, we have to be accountable. Be accountable for the things that we do, that we say. Be accountable so that if you, Ace have mentioned, you know what? Listen, this may not be my child, but you know what? Accountability and responsibility. It takes nothing from me to be able to speak life into someone else's child. Be accountable for the mistakes that I've made and say, you know what? I'm going to do better. Mm-hmm. And as a woman, be accountable for the word curses you may have spoken over that man. And actually apologize. A part of being accountable is apologizing. You know what I'm saying? Apologizing, being accountable and say, I'm going to do better. We all need to do better. We all need to step up as a village to help change this narrative and start being more supportive and highlighting the good that is happening, because there are good men, there are good fathers. And yes, we can do more. You know what I'm saying? We can be a better village. And I think that when we take on that mindset, you know what I'm saying, we're helpers to one another, a support of one another, we can see exponential growth and radical change in this regard. And I'm optimistic about it. I wouldn't have you men on here if I wasn't optimistic about it, because I believe that you all are wise. I do believe that you all are great fathers. I didn't say you're perfect. It's not about perfect, but you have progressed. There's no manual to being a father. So I want to take this moment to honor and salute not only the men that are on this live, but honor and salute the men that are tuning in as well. And those who are going to view this later. We love you. We respect you. We honor you. We thank God for you. And we trust and believe that from this live, that there's going to be something there. Mike went out. Greatness is going to be produced from I don't know why I want to do that. I know why I want to do that while I'm speaking words of affirmation. Can you guys hear me? Listen, we love you. We salute you. We honor you. And greatness is going to be, I'll say it again, greatness is going to be produced within you just from viewing this live. I truly wholeheartedly believe that, and there will be change and there will be better. Better starts now. And everyone, we're going to do our part to make sure that we're supporting. Listen, this is going to be up for you guys to view on YouTube. So before we move further, I want to put up some fatherhood resources really quickly where you can get help. Single fathers, do you not know that there are grants for you? I mean, for education, I mean, financial grants, there are grants for you. There's the National Parent Helpline. You see that number on the screen. There's fatherhood.gov. There's growingfamilybenefits.com. And there's fatherhoodresourcehub.org. I want you, whether you have to screenshot this, if you're jotting it down, if you need help, help is available for you. I mean, this live wouldn't be important if we didn't offer this type of solution. I think this is important right here, just as important to offer solutions. Fatherhood.gov, growingfamilybenefits.com, fatherhoodresourcehub.org, and the National Parent Helpline. So make sure you screenshot that. All right. I see a comment that says, I commend every man that is on this panel tonight. You did a great job. Thank you all so much for sharing with us tonight. May the Lord bless you in every aspect of your life. Amen to that. Listen, stay tuned. We're getting ready to close, but we have something for you, especially if you're in the DFW area. We want you to come rock with us. Let's go ahead and play that video.
We hope you enjoyed today's virtual discussion. SNS Coed is appreciative of your support and your financial donations. We want to thank our viewers, sponsors, partners, and those of you who've given donations to help support the vision of SNS Coed. We couldn't do this without you. Our in-person and online events are made possible because of your generous contributions. Everything we do has you in mind. We desire to provide you with the tools and resources you need to thrive, along with providing a life-changing experience. In light of that, we're asking that you please consider joining this movement and partnering with us by donating to this cause. Whether it's a one-time donation or monthly pledge, we greatly appreciate it. Your contributions will help us cover expenses and help us broaden our reach so we can impact our community and the world. All monetary donations can be sent via these avenues: Cash App, Zelle, or PayPal. This information is provided to you on the screen. If you're looking to partner or be a sponsor, please send an email to snsexec@gmail.com. That's snsexec@gmail.com. We'd love to send you our sponsorship packet along with additional information on how you can partner with SNS Coed. Again, thank you all for your contributions. SNS Coed Live is on Facebook and YouTube, and we want to stay connected with you. Join our community to stay posted on the latest events and sessions. Don't forget to share and invite someone as well. Type in SNS Coed Live, then follow, like, and subscribe.